Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal, I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s till present, mostly large sharks, and we'll get started right away. We're going to head over to Daytona Beach, Florida. The date, August 15th, 1995. James Oatley, 20 years old, is on vacation from Britain. Him and a friend are at Daytona Beach and they are surfing. And at the time of the attack, James is standing in water, it sounds like just over waist high, because he couldn't see the damage that was done during the bite, from the bite, until he got into more shallow water. We're going to do it a little differently. This is I love this source. It's the Mammoth Book of Shark Attacks, Alex McCormick and Rod Green. If you want a shark attack book, this has 400 awesome stories in it. Not that they're awesome, it's just, you know, that creepy, but anyway. I've highlighted, underlined where the shark attack file took this as their source, and they have most of it word for word the same, but they omitted some stuff, and we're going to go over that right now. So what's in the shark attack file is it grabbed his upper thigh and pushed him out of the water as he waded through the shallows. A friend managed to pull him further up the shore, and James was quoted as saying, I felt a tug like a dog biting me. It was pretty scary. I've been shark fishing before, and now they are fighting back. So that's the story, and it's word for word. They changed him to the surfer and it to the shark in their story, but they kept everything the same. So this was definitely grabbed out of this book. I don't see anything that could have been added from the other source, like I say. So then, shark attack file will tell you the injury, and in the injury it says that James had two rows of teeth down his leg. 2 rows of teeth down his leg. And then they tell you treatment, and under there they say the same thing that the mother says, is that James was taken to the hospital and had lots of antibiotics and tetanus injections. So his treatment, in both here and in the shark attack file, is shots. So he was bit by a gummy bear shark. And then they both say they get into the shark size, species and size, and it says undetermined. They don't know what species. And it is said that the shark is 6 feet long. That is the extent of the shark attack file on this attack. It gives you everything I said there, and now we're going to go back through and show you what they left out from their own source. It grabbed his upper thigh and pushed him out of the water as he waded through the shallows. Unsure what had happened, James struggled to the shore with blood pouring from his wounds. When he finally managed to examine his injuries, he was horrified to find 2 long rows of teeth marks along his legs. A friend managed to pull him further up the shore before the shark could strike again. James is a summer's 9th victim, and then it gets on to quoting his tug. Shark attack file left out the rest of the mother's quote. James was taken to the hospital and had lots of antibiotics and tetanus injections. Fortunately, he was not going to lose his leg. He will be flying home the weekend, but he'll be in a wheelchair because he can't walk. So those shots ain't helping him walk very much. And then, you know, shark attack file says it is said that the shark was about 6 feet long. Their source says beach authorities in the area estimated the shark was about 6 feet long. That's our first attack. You know, you make of it what you want, but like I said the other day, once I noticed 2 2007 stories and no type of shark with a bite with a victim, they should have that information. This is just bites. And now the other thing about James, if you Google James Oatley shark attack, you should see in the images up at the top of Google, it'll show you an image of James Oatley. I'm pretty sure that's him. He looks 20 years old, and he's sitting there with his leg bandaged up right at the thigh where it would happen. And I'm 6'1", and I look at his legs, this guy's got to be 6'6". That bite has to be at least 2 feet wide. You know, the shark attack file left out the word long. They left out the fact that it was the beach authorities that gave them the estimate on that shark. Okay, so just as an add-on to that story, along with being able to Google James Oatley, I wanted to read you the homepage description of the shark attack file itself. The International Shark Attack File is the world's only scientifically documented comprehensive, I hate when they use that comprehensive word, comprehensive database of all known shark attacks. Initiated in 1958, now more than 6,500 investigations from the 1500s to present. Individual investigations have happened from 1500s to present, but it's useless. It's useless when you're going to lie to us. It's useless when you're going to keep the information to yourself. It's useless when you're going to take out the word long when describing a cut because it's over in a U.S. Vacation town. That's just crap. Okay, now we're going to head over to Haystack Rock, which is over in Oregon, USA. The date is November 27th, 1979. Kenny Doudt, 26 years old. He and about 5 other friends are out doing some surfing. It's getting about 10:30. A few of his friends had bailed on surfing after about 30-40 minutes. And Kenny and a couple of friends are out there, and they're about 100 meters from shore. It says 2 to 3 fathoms deep. And Kenny Doudt is the only one paddling out towards the sea. He said the shark surfaced 3 meters off from him, to the south of him, headed north. It grabbed him on his left side, pinning him to the board. One of those bites on the board and the surfer. And he said at first he could just feel massive pressure. He thought that a sea lion had grabbed him or landed on him, either way. And he said that he was able to turn himself and he saw the gray body of a large shark. So he knows it's in its mouth. It pulls him off of his board, and when he surfaces, he's about, they said, a few meters from his board now. He was 20 meters from both of his friends. It says 20 meters from one and 20 meters from the other. So they're pretty far away from him. He manages to get over to his board and get a wave in. He's able to climb on it and get a wave in, and his friends help him out when he gets in there. He says that he thought that I looked at a recent, 2004, an interview 25 years after the attack, and he said that he thought, the people thought he was okay until they rolled him over. So he must have been on his back at first, and they rolled him over, and like the back of his skin had just flapped open, he said, and the blood was just everywhere. He said he lost all his blood but 1 pint, died twice when they were going through that. So he ended up getting fixed up and survived that bite. It was a one-off bite. It doesn't sound like it did anything other than bite him and probably do the shaking that they did. And his friend said that he saw the tail at the top of the water when he was, their common thing with them to slap that tail when they're biting it like that. But he ended up surviving the bite. Sadly, 2007, he passed away while he was surfing. They said that he drowned, and they said he was the third surfer that drowned within a 12-month period on that beach. So I didn't know that, that was that common, that you would, I know diving is dangerous, but I didn't think that surfing was that dangerous. I mean, unless you get hit by the board when you're falling, or you hit a rock or something when you're falling, I didn't think it was that dangerous. So kind of an eye-opener there to have 3 and 12 months, but that's our story of Kenny Doudt. Okay, now we're going to head over to Lamont Reef off Huron Island, Great Barrier Reef, Queensland, Australia. The date, December 20th, 2009. John Pengelly, 19 years old. He is in the water with a few friends. They're spearfishing, and he has just spearfished himself a mangrove jack and just brought it to the top of the water when suddenly he is bit by a shark, a bull shark. They said between 2.5 and 3 meters, so about an 8.5, 9-foot bull shark came up out of the depths, bit him in the arm, and quickly let him go and disappeared just as quick. He said that he was stunned that it happened so quick. He said he felt no pain, probably because of his adrenaline, but that he stayed calm. And he said his 2 mates, 2 dive partners that were there with him, they were awesome. They were so straight-headed and calm about it. They took the shirts and wrapped it around his arm as they went back to the boat. They were all in good spirits. They were kind of making light of the attack, surprised that it happened. John had said that he has seen as many as 10 in the water at one point, and they never usually bother him, so it surprised him on that. They get him, and they get him into a 5-meter aluminum skiff or a 5-meter fiberglass boat, and they're taking him back, a pretty decent ride to get back in. They come across a larger fishing boat that obviously can make better time, but that boat denied taking him in for them, but he did radio ahead that a shark attack victim would be heading in, and John says at least that helped, but it still made him and his friends upset that they didn't help out. I guess those fishermen were there fishing overnight and didn't want to have to leave their area. So John is shown with a cast on in the photo I've seen, and not a cast, but bandages on his hand, and he recovered from it. It's attack by a bull shark, but no attempt to predate. That's one of the few of those I come across, at least from large bulls like that, 8-9 foot. You're a lot of times in trouble with those. So there's one where it just came out, grabbed him and left. Attack, and that's it. We'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head back over off the coast of Oregon to Winchester Bay. The date is November 5th, 1998. Dale Inskeep, 32 years old. He and a buddy Pete Cooley, they're out and they're doing some surfing. They're sitting about 250 to 300 meters from shore. 2 to 3 fathoms deep, so you're talking 24 to 36 feet deep. And they're both sitting on their boards, waiting on a wave, 7 o'clock at night. Dale's sitting there, and all of a sudden he feels a swirling motion of the water around his foot. And he looks at his friend, and he's then bumped by an animal, something large, and he says, "That ain't good, I just got bumped." And just then his board starts getting lifted up out of the water with him on top of the board. So now he's struggling to stay on top of the board, and the shark just dropped back down out from underneath him and took off. They both paddled into shore, reported the incident. He checked over his board, but he couldn't find, anything that he could say were fresh marks from it. 20-foot great white. It's reported that he said that it was. He would know. He was in the water with our story with the gentleman. He was the witness in the other story where his friend was sitting there, and they were waiting on a wave, and that 20-foot great white came up and grabbed the front of his friend's board and pushed it along, and his friend backed up to the edge to grab onto the bottom of it, and the shark made its way underneath the board, and now he was wobbling, trying not to fall off, and then the shark disappeared in that bubbly water, and then he started paddling his ass off for shore, and he looked over to his left, and that shark had surfaced and started taking a cutoff route to him, and it did that ice skater type stop right by him, kicking up 3 feet wake at him, and then disappeared as it swam under his board, looking at him as it went right under his board. So that's the same Dale Inskeep, a witness to one shark lifting up his buddy's board, and then years later it did it to him too. So I'm not going to count it as an attack, but I wanted to go over that because that's pretty interesting. 2 very large great whites doing about the same thing to his friend the one time and then him the next time. We'll move on. Okay, now we'll finish our unprovoked attacks over off the coast of Japan to Gogo Island. The date March 8th, 1992. Kazura, Harada, 41 years old. He is a professional hookah diver, and he's 70 feet down in the water at the very bottom collecting pen shells. I'm not sure what pen shells are. P-E-N, like a normal writing pen, pen shells. He's collecting those. He's 1.5 miles offshore, 70 feet down in the water, and all of a sudden in the communications, his support boat hears him say, "Shark, help me, somebody help me, shark, shark," and then the communications cut. They try to pull him up, but they can't. They tried pulling him up by slowly moving the boat and that way lifting up the lines, and that didn't work either. They just snapped. So they had to send a diver down in. Half hour later, they went down and they got the suit, brought that back up because they were able to find that. It had the right arm torn out of it, and it was torn on the side of the body there. And they said that it was reported that he was ripped out of there so violently that it took the left pant leg and turned it inside out. So that shark grabbed him and just tore him out of there. His brother was supposedly about 2 weeks prior was bumped in the helmet by a large shark. He's not sure what size. He tried to act like he was all still so that it left him alone. Another diver a little bit prior to that one also was bumped, I believe a month earlier. So one was in January, one was in March, and then sadly Mr. Harada passed away, and one was in February, and then Mr. Harada passed away in March. That's a attack and a predation by a great white. They found a tooth fragment in the neck of the rubber suit, and they were able to identify it as a white shark by the tooth fragment, and that it was at least 5 meters long, so you're talking 16+ foot shark. Attack consumed great white shark. Okay, now we're going to finish out our show with, you don't hear that every day. We're going to head over to Isle of Wight. Over in the UK again. This is the second show in a row that we're ending with our friends over in the UK, but this is another good story. Ross Staplehurst, he and a group of friends are out fishing in a 23-foot boat, and they're sitting there and they look over, and they said about 50 meters from the boat they could see a pretty decent sized thresher shark, 13-foot thresher shark. It turned towards the boat, started swimming towards the boat, like I said, 50 yards away, and then it submerged. And then everything was quiet for a few seconds. And 5 meters from the boat, that thing, they leap out of the water. It leapt out of the water, and it landed itself flat across that boat, right centered in the boat to where it was even tail hanging out along with head. Boat is 9 feet wide. Shark is 13 feet long, so you had 2 feet of the shark hanging off each side, and it was a 400-pound shark, so it almost sunk the boat, and it killed the shark instantly. But the shark ended up giving one man a cut on his nose and bruised another man's leg. So that's our story from Isle of Wight. Another crazy attack, and well, not even an attack, just, you know, a shark jumping in the wrong place. You have to wonder if that was its plan all along, from it turning from that far away, coming, disappearing, and then jumping up and popping on that boat like that. But I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back in a couple days with another show full of attacks. And remember, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.